All right, now that I have the right mic connected. Spending 16 hours is hard for us to ask for you to figure out how to spend 16 hours. So there are a lot of assignments, a lot of things to do so that you have 16 hours worth of work to spend outside of this class. And to be honest, I don't think it is 16 hours of work that we ask of you, but it will feel like a lot. The other thing I might say then is, if you are spending 16 hours worth of work on this class, outside of this class, and you're still not getting everything done, we should have a conversation. Because it might mean that you're spending too much time on the wrong things and not enough time on the important things. It might mean that some of the AI assignments that you guys maybe have seen as you've explored the course, you're spending too long trying to get AI to bend to your will, and you just need to find a system that makes it easier. We are running a research project. Myself and my colleague, the course designer, Ryan Holcomb, we just won a $500,000 grant from the National Science Foundation, the NSF, to study how we can leverage AI as a study partner in General Chemistry 1 to better student success and to better how long students stay in school. At Convocation on Monday, that's where all the faculty get together, our provost asked all of the faculty, how many of you have used AI in the last week? And almost everyone raised their hand. How about you guys? How many of you have used AI in the last week? Maybe half. I think I was one of the few people that didn't raise my hand at Convocation. I've not used AI in the last month. I've not, well, other than Google AI, which I would rather it just gave me the dictionary again. I don't use AI much. I don't rely on AI for my work. I don't rely on AI to give me ideas, but AI can be a tool. And so this semester we have a series of assignments designed to teach you how to use AI as a tool, and especially how to avoid AI ruining your grade in this class by offloading your problem-solving skills to AI, so that by the time you show up to the exams, you actually don't have any skills. So we're trying to learn, how do we teach students to leverage AI, but that does not mean that AI is actually a required part of this class. All of those assignments have an alternative version. You can take homework problems from RealChem, which is your homework platform, homework problems that not homework problems, but in reading problems, in text problems that you're not expected or required to do, but you can use as problems to complete the AI assignments. I think alternative to that, there are worksheets posted on Canvas that you can steal questions from. The real challenge is that AI sucks at coming up with problems that are meaningful to you. So part of this research project is us also working with the AI creators on RealChem to actually create an AI that responds to our prompts the way that we want it to. An AI that knows its bounds and produces problems that are useful. I have had students from the spring semester that told me they were spending way too much time just trying to coax AI into giving them problems they wanted to do. In my opinion, if you are spending more than an hour on those AI assignments, you're spending too long on those assignments. Maybe it's time we talk and find a better system for you to solve those assignments. So, 16 hours, that's a lot. I doubt you'll do it every single week consistently. But the more time you can spend on this class, the better you're going to do at the end of the semester. Guaranteed. Okay, what else are you worried about? Sorry, I went down a tangent there.
Having people in the STEM lab that understand the RealChem platform and the AI that's being used so that they can answer questions about it.
So you're worried that there won't be people that know how to use or tell the AI to give you what you need for those assignments.
Right.
And I think that's one of the challenges with AI, period. Does anyone actually have any control over it to have it pump out what we need? Not necessarily. So I want you guys to be comfortable. So we have an AI built into our homework platform called Dot, but you are welcome to use any other AI that you want. As Slick students, you have access to the Microsoft Suite, which I believe means that you have access to Copilot, Microsoft's AI. But like I said, you can navigate around using AI entirely this semester and still find use from those problem-solving assignments. What else?
I just have a question. So is the AI supposed to be there to help us to do practice questions, basically to teach us how to do things like that?
In part.
Okay.
Also, it's there to generate the practice problems for you.
Okay.
We have learning objectives for each of our units this semester. As you are going through a unit, I want you to be looking at what learning objectives you feel confident you can do, and what learning objectives are your stumbling blocks. What learning objectives can you just not master? Then you plug those into AI and say, I need help mastering these learning objectives. The assignments are also going to teach you how to prompt write, how to ask AI to give you something that's meaningful. And so you'll put in there, these are the learning objectives I want to tackle. Generate 3 conceptual problems, and then 7 increasingly difficult practical problems that help me tackle and master these learning objectives. So there is a component where AI can actually tell you whether your answers are wrong or not, so it's a study partner in that. But there is a real component where you are just doing the work by hand, writing things out, and making sure that you know how to do the chemistry that we're asking you to do. So a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's not just there to walk you through it, it's actually there to help you have things to do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Kate?
I don't want to use AI. Is it like fairly easy to get it in?
Absolutely. Yep. One of my online students in the spring had absolutely no problem the entire semester finding the problems in real chem to use. I think maybe it makes it more challenging to target it towards the learning objectives that you want it to be, because you have to just depend on whatever problems are available already. Easy though, very easy.
Is real chem like critical chem?
Like critical chem, but not the same.
Okay.
Different platform, different people.
Okay. But still pretty similar?
Just an online homework, an online textbook platform. I've not worked with critical chem.
Okay.
I imagine that the format, the experience will be quite different, but it's similar in that it's our online resource for the class.
Okay.
What else?
Is this an okay time to ask about like the structure of the class somewhat, or?
Actually, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, I'll wait.
Thank you.
Is the online text still the real, the substack, what is the text called again?
Our textbook is called Real Chem,
Okay, so you're not going from the other online text.
which is OpenStax.
OpenStax, yeah.
I believe the Real Chem textbook is the OpenStax material,
Okay.
just hosted in Real Chem.
Okay.
Yep. If you guys don't know, OpenStax is an open education resource, meaning it was written by professionals, but not held behind a paywall like a copyright. Or it is copyrighted, but the copyright allows for it to be freely distributed. So a lot of classes here at Slick are moving towards those open education resources to minimize the cost. There is still a cost for us using Real Chem, and that comes from it being a homework platform as well. All right, I want to hear from you guys a little bit about what you think general chemistry entails. So this is a concept map, just hitting on ideas that all feed back into chemistry. What were things that you guys thought of? The periodic table. You say that name enough times, you forget what it actually means, but we're going to have some time talking about the periodicity that's represented in the table. Redox, that's a nice one. We're going to cover redox reactions later in the semester. Structures, absolutely. And if you want to study even more about structures, keep going to organic chemistry. Math? A lot of math. If you are a chemistry major and you go into the higher levels of chemistry, you will start doing calculus. We describe electrons by their orbitals, and orbitals require three-dimensional calculus to derive. What else? Nanotech. I love that. Actually, this is a good time for me to plug our ACS clubs. ACS is the American Chemical Society, and in our chemistry department, the ACS is an umbrella over 5 different student clubs. There's the SLIC Chemistry Club, which I'm the faculty advisor for. We've not yet set our meeting times this semester, but once we have that set, I'll send out some information to you guys to invite you to be a part of our club. We also have the Pre-Medical Professionals Club, Pre-Pharmacy Club, Pre-Dental Club, and the Nanoscience Club. The Nanoscience Club actually uses electron microscopes, which are housed in this room right here. It's possible from time to time we'll see our electron microscope technician actually in there working, which is only a little distracting, but kind of fun. We also do research within our chemistry clubs here at SLIC. If you are interested in exploring what research can look like in chemistry, try to get involved this fall semester, and it's likely that in the spring semester we can help bring you to the national conference for the ACS to present your research. We're having an event next week, Thursday at noon. I'll send out a flyer for it once I receive the flyer. And it'll be pizzas and posters talking about all the different research projects going on within our clubs. Nanotech, definitely a big part of chemistry. Anything else you guys want to add? Can I get one more? Geology. Can't have geology without chemistry. Actually, in the last year, I got to work with some of our geo students and a geology professor doing some geochemical analysis on rock samples from the Dry Gulch Creek. It was fun, and that project's still running, so if you're interested in geology research with a chemistry twist, I can get you connected. Just send me an email. Chemistry is everywhere and everything. Chemistry is built on math, but chemistry is experienced as these structures that manifest as tiny things or giant things. In fact, the definition of chemistry is the study of matter and its interactions. The very fact that we see light coming out of our lights up above and bouncing off of the things around us is an interaction with matter. So light itself is not matter, but we'll study light quite a bit this semester because of how it interacts with matter. All right. I want to take a second real quick to talk about expectations in the class before I actually turn you over to the syllabus. So one of the first questions I like to ask in discussing expectations is, whose classroom is this? Oh, okay.
You just have to grade.
All of ours? I agree. I don't think this would be a classroom if you guys weren't here. I don't know if it would be much of a classroom if I wasn't here either. We each have our role to play. So this is our classroom, which means I want us to feel comfortable agreeing to these expectations. And I need us to participate and communicate throughout the semester to make sure that we adhere to our expectations or update our expectations as we go. So one of the first things I want to talk about with our expectations is cell phones. If I see your cell phone, I'm taking it, I'm throwing it away, I'm smashing it. I'm just kidding. A fun story I like to share is that I would not have passed Calc 2 in college if it weren't for playing games on my cell phone. I had an afternoon Friday Calc 2 class. I'd have lunch on the grass in the sun with my friends, and then I'd go sit in an air-conditioned room listening to my Polish professor talk about integrals. I could have slept so well every single Friday, but instead I stayed awake by playing games on my phone. I didn't disrupt my classmates. I didn't have any volume on. I actually was more attentive because I was playing games on my phone. If I wasn't playing games, I would have been sleeping. It's really hard to pay attention when you're sleeping. So if you're on your cell phone, I just don't want it to be disruptive to the class. Sometimes that means the way that you're on your cell phone is disrupting your neighbors, despite there not actually being any noise coming out of it. It's hard for me to know if someone else on their cell phone is disrupting you. So if you could let me know, or even just have a cordial conversation with that classmate. Hey, the way that you're on your phone is really distracting. Is there a way that we could swap so that you're behind me and I don't have to watch you do what you're doing? But I don't know, maybe tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not distracted by the person on the bus that's on their phone. I'm not distracted by the person on the plane that's on their phone. I don't think you need to be distracted by the person in class that's on their phone, but let's have conversations about it if it becomes an issue. You guys are adults. I'm not here to be your high school teacher and ground you for being on your cell phone. I expect that if you're on your phone, you're doing something that is worth your time. Okay, anything you guys want to add to that? Yeah.
So in my differential equations, my teacher, he let us use the phone, but like, for example, listening to music, for example, like we were allowed to use it like listen to music while doing the exam, but I don't know, would that be the case for you?
Well, our exams will not be held here.
Okay.
And you will not be allowed to listen to music in the testing center.
Oh yeah, of course.
So if you want to come to class and listen to music, I have no problem with that. I do anticipate that you engage when I have activities for us to do. But also, I'm not your parent, so I'm not here to scold you into behaving the way that I need. I'm going to respect you guys as adults. And if you don't want to engage, I'm not going to force things. But I hope that you will participate as much as you can. Other than that, you want to listen to music, yeah, in your headphone. It doesn't bother me much at all.
That's the addendum with your headphones on.
Yeah.
Because people listening to their YouTubes with like just their phone
Right.
out, that's distracting.
I agree. In terms of our cell phone use, no volume coming out of the phone. I think that seems fair, right?
It has to be a certain volume where it's not like
Zero. Zero volume.
Yeah.
No volume from the phone. Put a headphone in.
I mean, like when you listen to music, like you have to have like.
I see. So that it's not so loud that people can hear it coming out of your cell phone. That's where I think you guys are going to need to communicate with each other and with me. Hey, your volume is so loud I can hear it from over here. If you don't want to listen to John that much, why don't you just go somewhere else? Okay, the next one I want to talk about is food. I know that some of these classrooms say we're not allowed to have food, but I don't always see those signs. I personally don't mind if you have food or drinks in here. You know that I'm going to be having my morning coffee every day. Just know that if it smells really good, I might ask for a bite. But That's the only thing. Let's talk about attendance. I generally do not like to require attendance for my classes. It feels like I'm forcing you to hang out with me. If you have better things to do with your time, I respect you getting done what you need to get done. But I'm not the course lead for this class, so I try to follow the expectations for the other sections as well. So I will be taking attendance. Attendance contributes to your participation. Participation also includes your pre-reading quizzes, and it together makes up 10% of your grade. I don't know that if you missed every single class, you would lose that many points in that 10% category. However, I'm going to expect that you guys are coming. I'm going to be taking attendance. But I still want to offer a number of unexcused absences. Unexcused meaning if you've got something really strange happening and you want to be excused from class, I'll consider that. But a number of unexcused where whether you tell me or not, it's not going to count against you with your participation. How many unexcused absences do you think is appropriate for the class? This is a 16-week course. We meet something like 30 times this semester. What do you think? 3, so 10%, 3 to 5. What feels better, the low end, 3, the high end, 5?
I will say like 3 or 5 because like just in case like if you have an emergency going on,
Mm-hmm.
like you gotta like be out of class because.
How many of you are going to have emergencies this semester? It's really hard to know, right? And actually, this reminds me of another emergency thing. Historically, Slick used to allow registration appeals. We have a drop deadline coming up in 2 weeks. If you drop the class before then, you get your tuition reimbursed. We have a withdraw deadline coming up in October, late October. If you drop before that deadline, you get a W on your transcript. You don't get your money back, but it doesn't impact your GPA. After that point, if you drop, you can't drop. You might fail for the class. Historically, Slick would allow students to appeal their drop if they had dropped past the withdraw date or past the drop date, because a life event happened that they couldn't control and they cannot finish the class. Slick has stopped accommodating those appeals and now uses a third-party organization where you pay them to essentially ensure your ability to drop the class at any point and not have it show up. So there are a lot of flyers around our building and probably around campus that talk to you about that grade insurance. I can't say one way or the other whether I recommend it or not, but I want you to be aware of it. If you think you're going to have a life-changing event this semester, which everyone expects that, right? Then it might be something to have on your radar. Not a plug, just to make you aware of it. Where were we? We were talking about attendance, thank you. So let's say 4 unexcused absences. That gives you essentially a quarter of the semester. You could miss a quarter of the weeks. You could miss one class. And I feel like that's probably enough. By the way, I'm not going to consider excused absences until you've used up all of your unexcused absences. So I don't really need an excuse from you, but if you want to email me and say, I'm not going to be there, that's great. I don't even need to excuse you. You get that absence for free. Does that sound good? This is your class as much as it is mine, and there's a lot more of you than me. So I want you to come to class. If you're going to come late, come in late. If you need to leave early, leave early. I know that can be a little distracting to others for you to come in late and leave early. but it's not going to distract me, and I'd rather you be here as long as you can than not be here at all. So feel free to come and go as needed to be able to be here for class. I want to talk about cold calling. I like to ask questions throughout the semester, but I also like to pick on specific people to answer those questions. A lot of students don't like being cold called. But could I have your permission to cold call on you whenever I want to if I allow you to say no or pass the cold call to someone else? Does that seem fair? It's not just cold calling and then I'm forcing you to respond and engage in class. It's cold calling to give you an opportunity to engage in class, and you reserve the right to pass that opportunity. Does that seem fair? Okay. A lot of students, I think, are scared to be called on because they're not going to say the right answer. And maybe they even have an idea that they think might be the right answer, but they're worried it won't be the right answer. Could I see a raise of hands? How many of you think that saying the wrong answer in class would hurt your classmates' learning? You know it's not right, so saying it out loud is just going to put it into their heads too. How many of you think that saying the wrong answer might actually help your classmates' learning? I agree. Yeah, I'm with you guys. If you've got the wrong answer in your head, it's very likely somebody else has the wrong answer in their head as well. And how am I supposed to know what wrong answer you're thinking of? I'm not in your head. I need you to say it out loud so that I can actually identify where is the misunderstanding happening. So by cold calling on you, you get a chance to practice retrieving the correct answer. That's practicing your chemistry. And you still have the opportunity to say, no, I don't want to do it. But it's not hurting you, it's not hurting your classmates, it's helping you, it's helping your classmates. Take those opportunities if you can. All right, notes. You can expect for me to bring these worksheets to class whenever we're going to be solving worksheets, but I also want you to be taking your own notes in class. I want to make it clear that these worksheets are not designed to be your notes. They are just meant to facilitate activities in class. You might even consider stapling them to your notes or getting a binder that allows you to put a 3-hole punch in these and put them into your notes. But they are not designed to be your notes. I want you to be taking notes in class. If you're like me, high school never really taught you how to take notes. College professors also don't really teach you how to take notes. So my recommendation on taking notes, copy down what I put on the board. I spend time writing your notes on the board. I do very few PowerPoint slides. I like to use the technology to show maybe what Real Chem is going to look like or what our Canvas looks like, or to show you guys the Instagram reels that come up on my feed, because I get some really cool chemistry Instagram reels. So I'll use technology, but I just don't have a lot of PowerPoint slides to use. So when I'm spending time putting things on the board, I'm expecting that you're just copying it into your notes. I don't put it on the board the way I think it looks pretty on the board. I put it on the board the way I think it will look good to review and replicate in your notes.
Are we allowed to, like, for example, like if you've written all the notes in the board, are we allowed to take a picture of it?
Absolutely. Please take pictures. It is not for me. It's for you. I don't even have a good view of the board. You guys have a good view of the board. I'm trying to record our lectures. As you guys saw, I restarted the recording because I messed up with the technology. I cannot guarantee that I'm not going to have technical issues. I've had my mic die. I've had my phone die. I've had my system glitch and the recording just doesn't save. So I can't guarantee these videos, but I aim to have these videos so that if you want to come back and review the notes later, you still have access to them. But by all means, take pictures. When I see you guys getting your phones out and like I can tell you're trying to take pictures, I try to get out of the way and give time for you to take the picture before I erase it. But if it looks like I'm gonna start erasing something, you better speak up quick. Hey, John, don't erase that yet, because I need to grab a picture of it. Otherwise, I sometimes just move on without thinking about whether you're gonna take a picture. So please, it's yours. What else? Any expectations that you want to set for the class?
What about calculators?
We can talk about calculators when we get to the syllabus. In class, please have a calculator. At the testing center, I tell them any calculator. If the testing center ever receives you and says, we don't allow this type of calculator, kindly point them to the instructions that I left that says any calculator of any kind. Math has a restriction on what calculators they allow into the testing center. You guys might know this, a lot of new calculators have internet access. I am not worried about that because if you're using your calculator a ton, that's going to be the suspicion that the testing center sees, because there's not always a ton of problems that need the calculator. So I had a student that was turned away from their calculator once, and they took a picture of what the testing center gave them, and it was a note from the math department. We are not the math department. So if you're ever turned away because of your calculator, kindly ask them to review the instructions, because I'm telling you any calculator is fine. Whatever calculator you plan on bringing to the exams, please bring that calculator to class. Get to know how to use that calculator, because it is an important tool before you go on to the exams. You know, my 4th grade teacher told me, you need to know how to do all the math in your head because you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket. Actually, we do. We do have calculators in our pockets these days. And maybe me saying you need to know how to solve our problems because you're not going to have AI in your brain forever, maybe that's going to really sound stupid in 40 years. Who knows? 40 years. I was not in 4th grade 40 years ago. Kate, you had an expectation you wanted to set.
I was just wondering, like, in class, is it just going to be like straight lecture the whole time? Like, what's the structure?
Great question. You can expect to spend time hearing me lecture and putting notes on the board, but you can also expect pretty much every day to have some activity on the worksheet. A lot of times my worksheets are in sections. So I'm going to lecture, have you guys work on part of the worksheet. I'm going to lecture, have you guys work on part of the worksheet. The worksheets are often designed to be done as groups as well. So I'm going to try and ask you guys to engage with each other. That was why the first thing I had you guys do was talk with each other, because I hope that you talk with each other more throughout this semester, or I anticipate you'll talk with each other more this semester than you end up talking with me. So I need you guys to have good relationships with each other, but it's not going to be just straight lecture. It gets a little boring. Not boring for me. I really enjoy it. I've done it. It gets boring for you and less effective for your learning. Any other expectations you want to set? All right, we're going to explore a little bit more the dynamic of the class then. So would you please make some groups, turn in and work with each other, and explore the syllabus that is on Canvas. I want you to try and pull out 3 things. Maybe these are things that confuse you, things that excite you, things that you actually aren't seeing in the syllabus. If you need to take some time to get up and move around and get your blood flowing, this is also a good time to do that. We're going to come back together at 10 after and talk about the syllabus and the dynamic of the class before we do some introductions from you. And then I'm going to give you guys a short lecture so that you can see what my lectures will feel like. Okay, thank you. I'm going to grab your slips right now as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Give me a second.
No rush. No, you're good.
Oh, also I have some fun facts.
How fun.
Recovering from wrist surgery. So writing is hard.
Yeah, that is really fun. How do you feel about taking notes on your laptop?
Laptop's easier.
Yeah. If you got some time, I can come back for it. No rush. Thank you.
I put in the fix it for the light.
Thank you. So what did you do? You just emailed them? They got rid of the form that they used to have. It used to be an online form that when you scanned it, you could click submit a ticket, and they got rid of it. Thank you, guys. You all ready with yours now?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I grab your slip? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I didn't even know the campus was up yet.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Questions from the open meeting
Thank you, thank you.
to fill in.
Thank you. Mind if I grab those slips?
Do we still need the magnet?
Yeah, that'll be for the lecture. Keep the worksheet. Worksheet's yours for the rest of time. Thank you, thank you. Nice drawings, Valerie.
I took this same class last semester. I just did. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I thought the same thing. Yeah. Thank you. We're gonna have
I have a website that
No, actually, you don't have to memorize any of it. You just have to know how to use this. This is the periodic table and equations sheet that you'll receive at the exams. You're welcome. You're welcome. I've got another sheet, so be prepared. Mm-hmm.
1060 straight here, and then my brain
This is quite the cheat sheet.
Thank you.
I would have liked this in calculus.
I have like one that I bought on Amazon. I
Yeah.
we also use it in class.
In
But I
class,
would try to get used to it because I know on the exam we can only use this one.
that's right. This is what they'll give you at the exam. So I want you to know how to use it. I want you to be familiar with it. But in class, outside of class, yeah, there's so many good resources out there. Here you go. A couple of handouts for you guys. If I hand you 3, can you guys pass it on over there? Okay, I've got one more. Here you go.
My older sister had your lab a few semesters back.
Who's your older sister?
Alex Freeland.
Really? You're Alex's brother? Incredible. Not just that, she had my lectures, and she worked at, oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking of another Alex. But now that you say it, yeah, I see the grim. I see the grim in you. Oh, it's great to have you. What's your name?
Caden.
Caden. Nice to meet you, Caden.
She thought highly of you.
Yeah, I also went to the ACS conference with her in the spring.
Oh, right.
forget the project she was presenting on, but
You know, I wouldn't know.
yeah. She's fun. If you see her before I do, tell her I say hi. Couple of handouts for you guys. You're welcome. Oh, that's 2. One for you. One for you.
You know, funny story. When I was taking chemistry 1010, during the final exam, I
You're
think
welcome.
they actually gave me material.
Yes, this is the one they give you when you get 10.
Instead?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we do have different periodic tables from that class
Just for the first section,
for the midterm.
midterm?
That's right. Well, it's one big page, and I decided to wait to hand that one out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There you go. You're welcome.
Is this for the entire semester?
It is not, actually. This is our midterm equations sheet. And the final exam equations sheet has all of this material and more. So part of keeping it smaller is to make sure that we don't overwhelm you when you're trying to use it at the midterm. Well, that was the right amount of periodic tables. I ran out.
Semester I was just chasing my tail.
All right, are you guys ready to come back together? I'd like to have a conversation about what you found in the syllabus. What are things that stood out to you? Things that looked good, looked scary, looked missing. Late work. Looks good, looks scary, or looks missing? Scary? So what did you see about late work in there?
There are no makeups.
No makeups. So we have a number of different types of assignments. I will accept late work for all of your online homework and pre-reading quizzes. So those are what we consider low stakes assignments. Your 10% of participation, all of those can be turned in late. I think we changed the numbers on the homework. Maybe you guys see this in front of you. The homework category is 20%. I'm going to say homework, but I'm going to emphasize that this is real chem. I will take that late as well. All of those assignments are designed to help you understand the material better. Your final exam is cumulative, so I want you to understand it by the time you get to the final exam. I had a student that received some bad intel one semester. Their friend said, don't do any of the homework until you get to the final exam. Just do all of the homework right before the final. That's bad advice. Do the homework when it's expected to be done. You have multiple attempts on the homework, so you can always come back to it before the final and try to improve your grade on it. But the idea of pushing everything off until the very end when you're trying to study for finals for all of your other classes, it's not going to go well. So I do accept late work for the low stakes assignments. But that's it. The high stakes assignments come from your unit tests and your exams. And this is where I think I forgot the numbers. 30% for the unit tests and 40% for the exams.
What are the unit checkpoints?
Those are part of your homework. Yep. RealChem is designed to have modules. Modules make up units. And so there are module checkpoints specific to that concept. And then all of the modules get refreshed in a unit unit checkpoint. But all of that is considered just homework. 20% for the unit tests. Is that what I heard? Unit tests are mid-stake assignments. They cost a lot more of your grade, but there are fewer of them. So the homeworks and the in-class activities that we do, they're all meant to kind of gear you towards the unit test. And the unit test is meant to prepare you for the exams. So I think this means 40% for the exams. Unit tests will be done on Lockdown browser. Oh, you know what? I think some of you guys needed to do a Lockdown thing. Did anyone try doing that?
What if like you've done it for another class, you have to do it again?
Yeah, there's an assignment that says you just have to, it's a way of just forcing you to open Lockdown so that your first time doing it isn't at the actual unit test. But I have to actually go into Lockdown first. And I haven't opened it. Honestly, it might just be as easy as saying, just clicking on that. Now you should be able to do that assignment that requires you to open Lockdown. Okay, see, this is what it is. So none of you got to that assignment yet. Okay, it is one of the early, like Unit 0 assignments. Okay, it's been updated, so you won't hit any walls when you get there now. Lockdown browser will require you to turn on your camera and have a microphone, and it will record you throughout the test. Then on my end, I'm able to go through and see who did it flag for potential cheating. Here's the deal. You are allowed a cheat sheet on the unit tests. So what Respondus might flag you for cheating is actually you using the materials that you were allowed to bring. So you're allowed here a cheat sheet. And you're allowed to use that cheat sheet on the unit tests to answer the questions. What you're not allowed to do is use the internet or use the textbook or use your notes. So from your notes and from your textbook, you'll build a study guide for those units, a cheat sheet, if you will. And then you are allowed to use that on the actual unit test.
I'm kind of confused. Are the unit tests like kind of some sort of quizzes?
They're Canvas quizzes, all multiple choice questions. They have a time limit, whereas none of your low stakes assignments have any time limits. The unit tests introduce a time limit, which I believe is 2 hours. You have a 2-hour time limit, and it's up somewhere around 50 questions in these unit tests. Confusingly, the units on Canvas are not the same as units in RealChem. So the unit checkpoints are homework problems. The unit tests on Canvas, those are your mid-stake assignments. These are done at home or in the library or on campus, somewhere that you have good Wi-Fi connection. And you'll have a window to take them during. You'll have several days. Please put them in your calendar as soon as you can so that you're not surprised Sunday at 11 p.m. Oh, I have a unit test I have to take, and I'm given 2 hours, but I only have 1 hour to do it. I want you guys to be able to fit it in. To help you prepare for the unit tests, there are practice unit tests. You get 2 attempts at the practice unit test. Those go into the participation points. So take your practice tests first. Figure out what concepts you're doing well at, what concepts you're struggling with. target the concepts you're struggling, and then go in for the actual unit test. The 40% category, the exams, this is taken at a testing center. And this is given no cheat sheet. What you are given is the periodic table that I've handed out and an equations sheet. For the midterm, it's the equations sheet I just handed out. For the final, it's a different equations sheet. You don't have to bring the periodic table and the equations sheet that I just handed to you. They will have it for you at the testing center. In fact, there's a very good likelihood they won't let you bring your own things in. It's just how they mitigate cheating as much as possible. Now, the no cheat sheet on the exams, that is a newer policy. So a spring student of mine was watching my recordings from last fall on YouTube and understood that last fall they were allowed a cheat sheet, and he thought he was allowed a cheat sheet. He got to bring cheat sheets to the unit tests, thought he got to bring a cheat sheet to the final exam, and he got kicked out. I was able to get him back in for a second attempt, but I know it's a little confusing when you're allowed to have things and when you're not. If you get confused, just let me know. But the testing center also has what is allowed. So you can just ask them, can I bring in this sheet? And they'll say no.
Is the cheat sheet front to back?
For the unit tests, yes. I do believe you're allowed 2 sides of a cheat sheet. Good question.
Are you required to take the practice test before the unit tests?
No. But I don't know what good it'll do you. The practice tests go into such a small part of your grade. I wouldn't skip them, because that's just hurting your grade unnecessarily. But if you take the practice tests after the unit test, you don't actually get any advantage. Like, let's say, for instance, there's 10 questions on the practice test that happen to end up on the actual unit test. Would you rather see them on the practice and struggle with them, and then see them on the unit test and know how to answer them, or see them on the unit test and struggle with them and then get to the practice test and know how to answer them? Does that make sense? You don't have to take both attempts of the practice tests, but I really recommend at least taking one attempt before you go into the actual unit test. Here first.
When we have access to the practice tests for the final, I find it good practice to reiterate older material. Would you be able to allow those to be available before the final?
That is a good question. I need to ask if that goes against expectations for all sections before I agree to it, but I can't see why I wouldn't be allowed to open them, not to redo the scores, but open them to be redone. I agree, yeah.
Just like make them visible to look at them, that'd be pretty useful.
There is a benefit, though, from not having the answers and sitting to really struggle with it. So send me an email about this in a week or so, if you can. No, today's fine, too, yeah. Anytime. And yeah, we'll sort that out.
Do we do any type of like test reviews in class at any point? Or
Yes. Okay, let me show you a document that I made for our class. It's at the top of our first module, class resources. It's the schedule that I've put together for our course. It's a calendar view. It actually deviates from the other sections in terms of timing. The first unit test, as designed by the course lead, is scheduled to happen the weekend after the drop date. I would rather that you take a unit test before the drop date so that you can figure out whether you're going to want to stay in this class or not. I want you to have a chance at that high stake, that mid-stake assignment, so that you know what you're in for. That means that we need to rush a little bit through the first 2 units. And I think we can do it. The other thing is all of the other sections will have an extra week to actually master the material before they have to take this unit test. So I am willing to consider leaving the end date the same as the other sections, but trying to pressure you guys into taking it early so that you know where you're at. Especially if you're someone that thinks you might drop the class, taking it ahead of the drop class is the best thing for you. What was the question again?
Oh, if we just do like reviews in class.
Oh, right. So our midterm, I'm thinking that we can do our midterm also ahead of the other sections. The other sections will have the week after spring break to do midterms. Thank you. I'm going to try and have the week of fall break, but again, that's a shorter time frame. It's harder for you guys to fit it in, so I might have some more availability the next week. That means that these 2 lecture periods will just be exam review. I won't be covering new material. And the reason I want to do that, I don't think that it's quite fair for me to ask you to find time outside of the time you've already committed to in class to go to the testing center and take I think you actually get 3 hours on the midterm and final. I don't think it's fair that I ask you to go take a 3-hour exam outside of the time you've already committed for this class. Seems a little weird. If it were an online class, that's the only way we can do it. So for an in-person class, I'm not going to teach new material in case you'd like to use our class time to go and take your exam. I understand that puts you at a disadvantage because you won't actually get to be here for the exam review. But if it helps alleviate pressure in your schedule, it gives you that opportunity. If I do allow some of the window for the midterm in the following week, you're going to be taking the midterm while we're talking about new material. So I don't recommend that. I recommend taking the midterm somewhere while we're doing the midterm review, somewhere in that week. Just be aware. It's going to pull you in different directions if we're talking about new material and you're trying to take a midterm on old material. So we will do some exam review. And for the final, sorry, to finish answering your question, this last Monday lecture of the semester will be final exam review. And then our very last lecture, we're going to split our 2 hours between taking a 50-minute ACS standardized exam. This is a really useful data point to show us how well the changes we're making in our classes are impacting our students. This is scored and averaged against national scores and averages. So it helps us see how well we're doing. And then the second half of that last lecture will be more final exam review. Did you have a follow-up on that?
You answered them, thank you.
Great.
The STEM lab also schedules reviews for the midterm and final for chemistry, so I went to that and it was really helpful.
That's great. Actually, I want to highlight that a little bit more. The STEM Center is upstairs 101 and 201. You need your S number to be able to log into the STEM Center. Please do it. Please go, because that actually gives them a huge boost in visits, which is what helps the college decide it's worth funding for it to be free. There's always chemistry tutors there, and we do run the midterm and final exam review up there as well. Okay, other questions? Things from the syllabus.
Sorry, are you ever in the STEM Center? Because I've seen you helping other students.
Yeah, so I have office hours. This document, by the way, which has our semester schedule, it also has my weekly schedule. These are my office hours. Oh, it's not.
What?
I don't know how that happened.
It's not the updated.
No, it's not right. I'll have to update it again. I have a Friday lab and a Friday office hour, so this is just not correct. Sorry, I do have office hours. It's also posted on the simple syllabus. And I like to get some heads up if you plan to be at one of those student hours, but I always aim to be in my office during those times. And if you don't want to meet me in my office, or let's say there's 5 of you that all want to come to office hours together, I only have 1 chair in my office, we're going to meet in the STEM Center. If you're someone that wants to study and work in the STEM Center and just take up space there all the time, then just tell me, hey, I'm going to be in the STEM Center during your office hour. Could you swing by and help me with some of the questions I have? I love having my office hours in the STEM Center. It's just a busy spot. So I always feel bad taking up a table and having no students come to me. I'll fix this. I'll repost it, but look at the syllabus to get the accurate office hours.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Other things?
I stepped out, so I don't know if you addressed this, but for the pre-reading section of things, are you expecting us to you take the quiz before you go through RealChem, go through all of RealChem, take it again before class?
Good question. Actually, the term pre-reading quiz is a little confusing. It is a quiz on the reading you do prior to class. So it's a pre-class reading quiz. The reason that I want you to do the readings and then take the quiz and then come into class, the reading is going to raise questions, things that you don't quite understand. And then the quiz will help you kind of see the concepts that are important. And then in class, we can clarify those questions that the reading brought up in you. However, you can still earn points for it by coming to class first, taking the quiz, doing the reading later. I believe you have unlimited attempts on those quizzes. So you shouldn't not get 100% on the pre-reading quizzes. And I would recommend even just having the quiz open while you're going through the reading and just look for those concepts in the reading to answer the questions directly. You could do it before class, you could do it after, but if you get confused on the material before class, that's better. Does that seem reasonable? Get confused before you come and hear me so that I can try and make sense of it. Otherwise, you're going to get confused listening to me, and you're going to have to try and make sense of it on your own.
Are the pre-reading quizzes time limited?
No time limit. Unlimited attempts, unlimited time.
The due dates, it said on the syllabus that the due dates were the start dates.
That's right.
Okay.
So it is a due date, which means when you see it on the calendar, you don't have to be prepping in advance. When you see it on the calendar, that's your reminder to start doing it. RealChem doesn't have due dates built into it, and part of that is because I'll allow you to go back up until the final exam and still do some of those things. So use the Canvas calendar to keep track of when to go to RealChem. Oh, I wanted to show you guys something, maybe the most annoying thing about RealChem. You cannot bookmark RealChem. You have to access RealChem through Canvas. I know. Although actually I found out that last spring, or maybe last fall, both, we had a Canvas hack, a Canvas shutdown, and we could actually still access RealChem by typing in the URL and it would pop up. But you can't bookmark RealChem, it just won't work. So what I recommend doing is bookmarking this page, register and log in to RealChem. I'm not on my Chrome, that's usually where I am. So bookmark this page and call it RealChem. And then every time you want to log into RealChem, click this page and you're just one button away. So it shortens that trip to get to RealChem. I saw another hand.
Is the fee for RealChem included, or do we need to pay when we log in?
I believe you need to pay for the RealChem. You get a 2-week trial. So again, if you're someone that feels like this class might be something you drop, then do the 2-week free trial, feel out the course, but then at some point you're going to have to pay for it. I want to say it's a $40 fee. Yes?
Excuse me. Are most of the assignments gonna be on Canvas, or do we have to like enter a certain page to do them?
The assignments are split between RealChem and Canvas. So unit checkpoints and module checkpoints have to be done on RealChem, but you'll get reminders about them on Canvas. Pre-reading quizzes, unit tests, and exams, those are all done directly on Canvas. And again, there are no deep links. So when Canvas says you have a RealChem assignment due, you have to navigate to RealChem yourself and find that assignment. There's no clicking from Canvas to get to the assignment on RealChem, unfortunately. I also wanted to point out one other thing about RealChem. I don't want you to think that you need a check mark on every page. I apologize. This is instructor's view. When you are on RealChem, you'll find that each page, where are the pages? Each page gives you the option of having a check mark next to it. I'm not quite sure. I'm not used to, yeah, I think the check marks will show up down here.
Yeah, it's on the top. If you scroll up to the top again, it'll show you the green check mark. Yeah, right
To
there,
the introduction.
on the intro.
See below.
Oh, there it is. Okay. That gives you proof that you have read the entire thing and you've engaged with those in-text readings. Are you graded on doing the problems embedded in the text? No. You are graded on doing the unit checkpoints, the module checkpoints at the end of each module. Here we go. This is what I wanted. I've got 0 out of 14 pages checkmarked. And I can get an A in the class with 0 out of 14 pages checkmarked. I had a student a few semesters ago that said, I got sick for a week and I never caught up because I just could not get a green check mark on all of the pages that I missed and do the checkpoints that are expected of me at the end. You are not expected to get the green check marks. That is not an assignment. That is not part of the grade. It's not hurtful in any way. But if you think that you have to do it, you're just going to be spending way more time than you need to. So please prioritize the checkpoints. Those are graded. The check marks, not graded. Does that make sense? Great.
And the checkpoints have 3 attempts, right?
That's right. 3 attempts, targeted, which means if you get a question right the first time, you never have to answer it again. You only have to answer the questions you miss each time. And it only keeps your highest score. Okay. All right, I would like to take the rest of our time to finish our worksheet and give a short lecture on the 4 fundamental forces. The first of the 4 fundamental forces is actually arguably not a force at all. It's also the weakest force, gravity. Newtonian physics says gravity is a force experienced between 2 objects with mass. And we can calculate the force of gravity, we can expect it. We experience it for sure. None of us know a life without gravity. Quantum physics says gravity does not exist. Gravity is a manifestation of warped space-time. Matter takes up space, warps space and time around it, and then moving through a straight line in warped space-time feels like you're being pulled towards the center of mass of an object. So gravity as an experience is certainly real. There is a manifestation of warped space-time that we experience and call gravity, but gravity arguably doesn't really exist. But let's talk about things that experience gravity. What do you know that experiences gravity? Light. We actually represent light with the letters H, nu. Oh, they took down my Greek letters. Well, they weren't mine anyways. That is, it looks like the letter V, but you can see it's a little fancy there in the top right. That's the Greek letter nu. H is the constant Planck's constant. Nu represents the frequency of light, and when multiplied together, they tell you the energy of that light. How do you know that light experiences gravity? This is usually the one I get to last. Astronomers look into the night sky, and they see images of a galaxy in 4 different spots. The light from a galaxy is coming from behind a very dense galaxy, and it's being warped by the gravity of that dense galaxy in front of it. So we call it gravitational lensing. The light is being warped by space-time. The light is being warped by gravity. What else experiences gravity? We do. Trees do. Gases do. Liquids do. Everything with mass experiences gravity. Light, famously massless. Yes?
Well, yeah, so how does it experience gravity?
Gravity is warped space-time, and light moves through space-time.
So it doesn't produce a gravitational pull itself.
Gravitational pull doesn't exist. Light doesn't warp space-time, that's true.
Okay.
But light still travels through warped space-time. Okay. Remember, gravity doesn't exist. So what you think of as gravity is just a manifestation of warped space-time, which light also has to move through. It doesn't look like your face agrees with that explanation.
Well, when I was reading it, Rockham put light under the category of non-matter.
That's correct, it's non-matter.
But matter was also defined as something that has mass.
Correct.
But light is massless.
Correct. All of these things are true. How is light massless?
Well, how is that all true at the same time? If light's non-matter.
How is it impacted by gravity? It experiences gravity because gravity is warped space-time. Maybe we need to have a discussion on warped space-time.
Gravity affects anything with mass and light.
Yeah, which is everything.
They're not under the same.
Correct. So light and mass comes from our protons, our neutrons, and our electrons. Protons, neutrons, and electrons, which we'll talk a little bit more about this semester as we dive into the fundamentals. But those are the fundamental components of all of our mass: the protons, the neutrons, the electrons. So yes, we know and we expect that gravity impacts things with mass, but our misunderstanding of gravity would lead us to believe that gravity has no impact on light, but we know that gravity does impact light, which tells us gravity is not what we think it is. The next fundamental force that I want to tell you about is perhaps the hardest to understand and the hardest to explain. So I'm going to try and give an example here. This is the weak nuclear force. Now, when we talk about a nucleus, we're talking about protons and neutrons only. These are much heavier mass particles than electrons. One of the best examples of the weak nuclear force is when we consider carbon-14. Famously, carbon-14 is used for radioactive dating, carbon dating. Carbon-14 only forms when solar radiation interacts with nitrogen in the atmosphere and turns it into carbon-14. Carbon-14 has a half-life in which it decays. Now, first, what do we know about carbon-14? And I understand this is actually jumping the gun a little bit for our Gen Chem class. We're going to come back and explore a lot of this more. Well, the fact that it's carbon tells me that in the nucleus of this atom, there are 6 protons. That's the definition of an element, the number of protons that it holds in its nucleus. The fact that carbon weighs a mass of 14 tells me that in addition to the 6 protons, there are 8 neutrons. Carbon-12, the most abundant isotope of carbon, has 6 neutrons. So it's still carbon, but it's a different type of carbon atom than what makes up most of the world. What does carbon-14 decay into? It becomes nitrogen-14. In fact, that's what it came from. Nitrogen is converted into carbon-14, and then the carbon-14 decays back into nitrogen-14. Well, for it to be nitrogen, it can't have 6 protons. It must have 7 protons. But to have the same total mass, 14, how many neutrons does it have? Also 7. So what change has taken place here? One of the neutrons in carbon-14 has decayed into a proton. And that involves the weak nuclear force. Inside of the nucleus, inside of protons and neutrons are quarks. Up quarks and down quarks. Up quarks have a plus 2/3 electric charge. Down quarks have a minus 1/3 electric charge. Protons have 2 up and 1 down, which sums to just a plus 1 electric charge. Whereas neutrons have 1 up and 2 down, which sums to a 0 electric charge, neutral. The weak nuclear force is involved in those quark interactions, which impacts what we know about neutrons and protons in our nuclei. The strong nuclear force is what's responsible for having nuclei in the first place. So let's consider a nucleus. Let's consider the carbon-12. Sorry, that one's just way too big. Let's consider the helium-4 nucleus. The helium nucleus has 2 protons and 2 neutrons held together in a tight space like this. Now you all have magnets in front of you, except for maybe a couple. I ran out. I want those magnets back before you leave. You've got extras? Oh, great, great. Anybody not have one? One of you guys? You can pass it that way, actually. Thank you. You all have magnets in your hands. What feels counterintuitive about this nucleus? What seems like it shouldn't be allowed to happen? Oh, there actually are no negatives in there. Those are neutral, and those are positives. But the positives are maybe it doesn't look like they're touching, but they are very close to each other. How close can you get the like ends of your magnet to each other? Can you get them to basically touch? Because actually this looks bad, but if you were to really try and hold 4 balls together, those protons are going to be butting up against each other somehow. Can you? Matthew, you got them to actually physically touch? Well, you've got the strong nuclear force then. You have to fight against the repulsion that these positively charged particles innately experience, and that strong nuclear force holds them close by despite their repulsion. And that repulsion that they experience, that repulsion that you feel in your hands, that's something that we all know so well. It's the result of electromagnetism. This is the force that governs everything that we'll talk about this semester. Electromagnetism is all that chemistry is. So when you think about chemistry, when you think about chemicals, I actually want you to think about the magnets that you have in your hands right now. Those are chemicals, and they're representations of all of our chemicals too. Everything is just a magnet. Special magnets. Some are weak magnets, some are strong magnets, some are very interesting and complex magnets. But actually you can hear that this is two components, the electromagnetic force. There's an electroforce. We represent that with E. And we think of things like positive charges and negative charges. Positive charges repel each other, negative charges repel each other, but positive and negative charges attract each other. Then there's the magnetic component. I'm not sure who decided this, but they gave it the letter B. That's the magnetic field. And the magnetic field also has two components. It has a north end and it has a south end. North ends repel, south ends repel. North and south are attracted to each other. Magnets and electrical charges are analogs of each other. They're actually two manifestations of the same exact force, and they impact each other. For instance, when an electron, a charged particle, spins, it generates a magnetic field. And so if a second electron spins opposite of the first, it creates an opposing magnetic field, which means despite having the same electric charge and wanting to repel each other, two electrons actually behave as two magnets and end up attracting each other. We call these electron pairs. Another system that we use this for, this moving electrons, moving charges make magnetic fields. We use it in the alternators in our cars. We push electrons through a copper wire, and we generate a magnetic field that helps us charge our batteries. When you're doing wireless charging on your phone, electricity is going into into a copper wire, generating a magnet, and that magnetic force then is put into your phone where it starts moving electrons, and those electrons charge your phone. And there's actually a force carrier of electromagnetism. There's a particle, if you will, that has both the components of the electric field and the magnetic field, and as it propagates through space-time, it carries the electromagnetic force. Do you guys know what that is? The radiation of electromagnetism? Light. We call it light. Light is, I'm going to try and do it here, the electric force and the magnetic force together. So we're going to study light. We're going to study electromagnetism because that's what governs all of our chemistry this semester. Thank you guys for your time. On Monday, we're going to do some brief introductions and then dive into our first unit. Take the weekend to look over Unit 0 and all of the expectations for you for the class.
So Unit 0 for Monday?
I'll send an announcement either later today or later this week with what to do over the weekend to prepare for Monday. Thank you, guys. If you'd bring your magnets or even just leave your magnets, thank you.